Chapter 1. The Unexpected Assignment. Lieutenant Alexander Hayes sat in the dimly lit briefing room aboard the UTS Resolute, scrolling through the details of his newest assignment. The words on the holographic screen blurred together, his disbelief mounting with every line. He'd been sent on strange diplomatic missions before mediating between warring alien tribes, resolving disputes over space mining rights, even once helping negotiate the custody of a bioluminescent pet between two alien governments, but nothing compared to this. This has to be a mistake, Alex muttered, leaning back in his chair as he scanned the briefing one more time. His dark eyes flicked over the details. Assignment: Diplomatic Liaison. Client: Councilwoman Zanari Kaur, Noran Alliance Representative. Objective: Facilitate cultural exchange and ensure satisfaction of mutually agreed parameters. Notes: The Noran Councilwoman has specified her preferences in a liaison, focusing on adaptability, endurance, and physical compatibility. Physical compatibility? Seriously? Alex rubbed his temples. What does that even mean? The holographic image of Commander Thorne suddenly materialized in front of him, her sharp features as unreadable as ever. Lieutenant Hayes, you're not paid to question orders. You're paid to carry them out. And this assignment comes directly from the Central Alliance Diplomatic Corps. They trust you to handle this professionally. With all due respect, ma'am, this sounds less like diplomacy and more like matchmaking. Thorne's expression didn't waver. The Noran Alliance is one of the most influential factions in this sector. If Councilwoman Kaur feels this is what's necessary to strengthen relations between her people and humanity, then it's your job to comply. Or would you prefer scrubbing hydroponics filters? Alex groaned. He knew arguing was pointless. Understood, Commander. When do I leave? You'll be transferred to the Noran flagship within the hour. A word of advice, Hayes. The Norans are direct. They value confidence. Show any hesitation, and you'll lose their respect. As the transmission ended, Alex slumped in his chair. Confidence, he muttered. Sure. I'll just confidently figure out what the hell this assignment even is. The Noran flagship, Vareshi, loomed in front of him like a floating mountain. Its sleek, organic design shimmered with a metallic purple hue, reflecting the distant stars. The ship was massive, easily 5 times the size of the Resolute, and its presence radiated power. When Alex stepped off the transport shuttle into the docking bay, he was immediately struck by the scale of everything around him. Norans were a towering species, their architecture reflecting their immense stature. The corridors were wide, the ceilings high, and even the standard control panels were positioned at a height that made him feel like a child. A guard approached him, female, like most Norans Alex had read about. She was over 7 feet tall, clad in intricate silver armor that shimmered under the bay lights. Her crimson eyes studied him with curiosity and something that might have been amusement. Lieutenant Hayes? Her voice was a rich contralto, reverberating slightly in the vast space. That's me, Alex said, craning his neck to meet her gaze. He tried to maintain his composure, but it was hard not to feel small in every sense of the word. I am Lyra, she said, gesturing for him to follow. Councilwoman Kaur is eager to meet her liaison. You are smaller than I expected. Alex resisted the urge to roll his eyes. And you're taller than I expected, he said, his tone light. He wasn't about to let his size or lack thereof become a sticking point. Lyra's lips quirked into what might have been a smile. You'll need that humor where you're going. When Alex finally entered Zanari Kaur's chambers, he realized just how unprepared he was. The room was luxurious, filled with plush furnishings and walls adorned with holographic art. Standing at the center was the woman herself, Councilwoman Zanari Kaur. And she was breathtaking. Zanari was easily 8 feet tall, her athletic frame wrapped in a flowing gown that shimmered like liquid silver. Her deep violet skin seemed to glow under the ambient light, and her piercing emerald eyes locked onto him with an intensity that made him feel exposed. Lieutenant Hayes, she said, her voice smooth and commanding. You're smaller than I imagined. Let me guess, Alex replied, forcing a smile. You expected someone taller? Zanari's lips curved into a slow, predatory smile. No, I expected someone with less spirit. This might be interesting after all. Alex cleared his throat, trying to ignore the way her gaze seemed to peel back every layer of his confidence. I'm here to serve as your liaison councilwoman. Whatever the assignment entails, I'm ready to do my part. Her smile widened. Oh, I intend to find out if that's true. Before Alex could respond, Zanari stepped closer, her presence overwhelming. She loomed over him, her sharp features studying him like a specimen under a microscope. You must understand, Lieutenant, she said, her tone soft but firm. Noran culture values strength, both physical and mental. We are a species that thrives on challenges. If this alliance between our peoples is to work, you will need to prove yourself. Are you prepared to do that? Alex squared his shoulders, refusing to be intimidated. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't. Zanari's eyes gleamed with approval. Good. Then let's begin. Chapter 2. A Test of Strength. Alex Hayes barely had time to catch his breath before Zanari's chamber began shifting around him. What had moments ago been an elegant lounge, with soft lighting and alien sculptures adorning the walls, now resembled an arena. The smooth flooring retracted into the walls, replaced by metallic panels that hummed faintly with energy. Overhead, long, slender beams of light activated, illuminating a circular platform in the center of the room. Zanari stood tall and imposing on the edge of the platform, her arms crossed over her chest. Her shimmering silver gown contrasted with the harshness of the training environment, but her piercing emerald eyes carried the weight of authority. You're about to face your first trial, Lieutenant Hayes, she said, her tone calm but with an undertone of challenge. This isn't just a test of strength. It's a test of adaptability, resourcefulness, and endurance. Alex eyed the glowing platform warily. You know, where I come from, trials like these usually involve paperwork or negotiations. Zanari smirked. Where I come from, we prefer our challenges to be more engaging. Before Alex could respond, Zanari tapped a panel on her wrist. The circular platform beneath him came alive, its surface rippling with a faint glow. As he stepped onto it, he felt a slight vibration under his boots, a sign that something was activating. Let's begin, Zanari said, her voice carrying a predatory edge. At first, the platform seemed harmless enough. Then, small orbs of light began to materialize around him. Each was about the size of a tennis ball, hovering in midair and pulsing softly. Alex's first instinct was curiosity. The orbs floated lazily in wide arcs, almost like they were sizing him up. What am I supposed to do with these? Alex called out, glancing at Zanari. Her response was a cryptic smile. Survive. Before Alex could ask for clarification, one of the orbs zipped toward him with alarming speed. On instinct, he ducked, narrowly avoiding the glowing projectile. A sharp crackle of energy erupted as the orb zipped past his head and struck the ground, leaving a scorch mark on the metallic surface. Right? Alex muttered, straightening up. Got it. Don't get hit. Another orb shot toward him, then another. Alex dodged to the side, narrowly avoiding the second attack, but the third orb caught him off guard, grazing his arm. A sharp jolt of pain radiated through his body, and he stumbled backward. What the hell are these things? Alex shouted, clutching his arm. They're harmless, Zanari said casually, though the amusement in her voice was unmistakable. At least for now. They're designed to test reflexes. The longer you last, the more challenging they become. The orbs continued their assault, moving faster and with more coordination. Alex ducked, rolled, and sidestepped, his muscles burning with the effort of staying ahead of their relentless attacks. Sweat dripped down his forehead, and his breaths came in short gasps, but he refused to back down. As the minutes stretched on, the orbs seemed to develop a strategy. Instead of attacking one at a time, they began coordinating their movements, herding Alex toward the edge of the platform. He glanced over his shoulder and saw that the platform's edge glowed a dangerous red, warning of the energy field that surrounded it. One wrong step and he'd be fried. Great, Alex muttered, his mind racing. They're learning. Zanari's voice cut through the chaos. The platform adapts to your movements. It's not just about reflexes, it's about strategy. Show me that humans can think under pressure. Alex gritted his teeth. He needed a plan, and fast. His eyes scanned the room, searching for anything that could give him an advantage. His gaze landed on a small console embedded in the floor near Zanari. It was risky, but if he could reach it, he might be able to disable the platform. The orbs closed in, buzzing with energy. Alex feinted to the left, drawing their attention, then sprinted to the right, his boots skidding on the smooth surface of the platform. He dodged another barrage of attacks, his heart pounding as he neared the console. With one final burst of effort, Alex dove toward the console, his fingers slamming onto the largest button he could find. The platform froze, and the orbs dimmed, their energy dissipating into the air. Alex collapsed onto the ground, panting for breath. Zanari approached him, her heavy footsteps echoing in the now-silent chamber. "You disabled the system," she said, her tone laced with approval. "Most would have simply tried to endure." "I figured there had to be an off switch," Alex said, still catching his breath. "You know, Rand seemed like the type to value ingenuity over brute force." Zanari extended a hand, helping him to his feet. Her grip was firm but not crushing. "You're smarter than I expected, Lieutenant. And faster. Perhaps there's hope for your species after all." Alex couldn't tell if she was teasing him or paying him a genuine compliment. "So, did I pass your test?" he asked, brushing himself off. Zanari's lips curved into a small, predatory smile. "You've proven yourself resourceful, but this was only the first trial. There's still more to come." Later that evening, Alex found himself in Zanari's private quarters, nursing a sore arm and reflecting on the day's events. The Noran councilwoman was seated across from him, her towering frame making even the oversized Noran furniture look small. She poured a glass of a shimmering, amber liquid and slid it across the table toward him. "Drink," she said. "You've earned it." Alex hesitated for a moment before taking the glass. The liquid was surprisingly smooth, with a warmth that spread through his chest. "Not bad," he admitted, setting the glass down. Zanari studied him for a moment, her emerald eyes sharp but not unkind. "You surprise me, Lieutenant. Most humans I've encountered are either arrogant or fearful. You are neither." Alex shrugged. "I guess I've always believed in meeting challenges head-on. Besides, you don't seem like the type to respect someone who backs down." Zanari's smile widened, a rare softness in her expression. "You're not wrong. In Noran culture, respect is earned through action, not words. You've taken the first step, but earning the trust of my people will require more than surviving a test." Alex leaned forward, resting his arms on the table. "Then tell me what I need to do. I didn't come here to fail." Zanari regarded him in silence for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. Your next trial will take place tomorrow. Rest while you can, Lieutenant. You'll need your strength." As Alex returned to his quarters that night, he couldn't shake the feeling that he'd only just begun to scratch the surface of what this mission entailed. The stakes were higher than he'd realized, but one thing was certain. He wasn't about to let Zanari or himself down. Chapter 3: Bridging the Divide. The next morning, Alex stood in the vast council hall of the Vareshi, the seat of Noran power aboard their flagship. He was surrounded by towering Noran officials, each one more intimidating than the last. Their robes shimmered with metallic hues, the colors signifying their rank and status. Zanari stood beside him, calm and regal as ever, her imposing figure radiating authority. The room was silent, save for the hum of the holographic displays that projected the galaxy's political map. Alex shifted uncomfortably, aware of the skeptical gazes locked onto him. Every glance seemed to scream the same question. Why is this human here? One official, a tall Noran male with deep crimson skin and sharp golden eyes, finally broke the silence. "This is the human you've chosen, Councilwoman Core?" His voice was thick with disdain, each word a sneer. "This small creature is meant to represent their kind?" Zanari's expression hardened, though her tone remained calm. "Lieutenant Hayes has proven himself capable in the initial trial. His size is irrelevant. What matters is his ability to adapt and overcome challenges." The male official, who Alex would later learn was High Advisor Drex, crossed his arms. "The Noran Alliance is built on strength, both physical and mental. If this human cannot prove his worth, then he has no place here." Alex felt the weight of the room shift toward him. He wasn't sure if the hostility was a test, a genuine mistrust of humans, or both. Regardless, he knew he couldn't afford to falter. With a steady breath, Alex stepped forward. "I understand your concerns," he said, his voice firm. "I may not match you in size or strength, but humans have always thrived in situations where we're underestimated. I'm here to prove that our alliance can work, and I'll face whatever tests you think are necessary to show it." Drex's eyes narrowed, a flicker of amusement crossing his features. Bold words for someone so small. Very well. Let us see if you can back them up. Moments later, Alex found himself in yet another arena-like chamber, this one far larger than the one in Zanari's quarters. The circular space was bordered by a glowing energy field, and the floor was a mix of smooth metal panels and shifting, uneven terrain. Overhead, a translucent dome provided a view of the star-speckled void. The chamber wasn't empty. At the far end stood a Noran warrior, easily 9 feet tall, clad in lightweight combat armor. Her stance was confident, her 4-fingered hands gripping a staff-like weapon that crackled with energy. "Meet Commander Ralvek," Zanari said, her voice carrying an edge of anticipation. "She is one of the finest warriors in the Noran fleet. Your task is to hold your ground against her for 3 minutes." Alex stared at the towering warrior, his heart pounding. "Hold my ground? Against that?" Zanari's lips curved into a faint smile. "You wanted to prove yourself, Lieutenant. This is your chance." Ralvek smirked, twirling her staff effortlessly. "Don't worry, human," she said, her voice a deep rumble. "I'll try not to break you too quickly." Alex swallowed hard, then nodded. "All right, let's get this over with." The moment the signal was given, Ralvek charged. She moved with startling speed for someone her size, her staff crackling as it sliced through the air. Alex barely had time to dive to the side, rolling across the uneven terrain as the staff struck the ground where he'd been standing moments before. The impact sent a jolt of energy rippling through the floor, and Alex scrambled to his feet, his mind racing. He couldn't match Ralvek's strength or speed, but he didn't need to. He just needed to survive. Ralvek lunged again, her staff aimed at his midsection. This time, Alex sidestepped and grabbed a loose piece of debris from the ground, a small, metallic shard. As Ralvek spun to face him, he threw the shard at her, aiming for her face. The shard bounced harmlessly off her helmet, but it achieved its purpose. It distracted her long enough for Alex to dart behind a larger piece of terrain. He pressed himself against the metallic structure, his chest heaving as he tried to plan his next move. "Smart," Ralvek called out, her voice echoing through the chamber. "But you can't hide forever." Alex peered around the edge of the terrain, watching as Ralvek stalked toward him. Her movements were deliberate, each step calculated. She wasn't just a brute. She was a tactician. "Come on, Alex," he muttered to himself. "Think. What would she not expect?" An idea formed in his mind, and he moved quickly. Darting out from his hiding spot, he grabbed another piece of debris and hurled it at Ralvek's feet. As she instinctively glanced down, he sprinted toward her, closing the distance faster than she anticipated. Before she could react, Alex dropped to the ground and slid between her legs, his hands grabbing onto the staff. Using her own momentum against her, he yanked the staff downward, forcing her to stumble. Ralvek let out a growl, spinning to face him, but Alex didn't give her the chance to recover. He jabbed the staff into the uneven terrain, wedging it between 2 panels. With a quick twist, he broke the weapon's power circuit, rendering it useless. The chamber fell silent as Alex stood, breathing hard. Ralvek stared at him, then let out a deep laugh. "You've got guts, human. I'll give you that." The timer on the chamber wall reached 0, and Zanari stepped forward, her expression unreadable. "You survived," she said simply, "and you did so with ingenuity. That is something my people value greatly." Alex nodded, still catching his breath. "Glad to hear it. Do I get a break now?" Zanari's lips curved into a rare smile. "For now. But don't get too comfortable, Lieutenant. The final trial will be the most challenging yet." Later, back in Zanari's quarters, Alex nursed a bruised shoulder and a battered ego. Despite the exhaustion, he felt a sense of accomplishment. He had stood his ground against a Noran warrior and earned a measure of respect from Zanari and her people. As he sat across from her, sipping another glass of the strange, amber drink she'd offered the night before, Zanari studied him with a thoughtful expression. "You've impressed me, Lieutenant," she said finally. "But earning the trust of the Noran Council will require more than strength and ingenuity. They need to see that you understand our culture, our values." Alex set down his glass, meeting her gaze. Then tell me what I need to do. I didn't come here to fail. Zanari's eyes gleamed with approval. Very well. Tomorrow, you will face the test of unity. Rest while you can, Lieutenant. You'll need every ounce of strength you have. As Alex returned to his quarters, his mind raced with questions about the next trial. But one thing was clear. He was determined to prove that humans and Norans could stand together as equals no matter how tall the odds. Chapter 4. The Test of Unity. Alex stood in the center of a circular chamber, its walls adorned with intricate carvings that seemed to pulse faintly with energy. The air was heavy with an unspoken sense of importance, the kind that made every breath feel like a commitment. Around him, members of the Noran Council observed silently, their towering forms casting long shadows in the low light. At the head of the assembly stood Zanari, her regal demeanor somehow even more commanding in this sacred space. This, she began, her voice echoing through the chamber, is the test of unity. It is a ritual that binds two individuals in a shared understanding, stripping away barriers of culture and language. By participating, you will prove your commitment not just to me, but to our people. Alex nodded, trying to mask the mix of apprehension and curiosity roiling inside him. What does the test involve? He asked, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. Zanari gestured to a pedestal in the center of the room. On it rested a glowing, translucent orb, its surface swirling with colors that seemed to shift in response to their presence. This artifact is called the Kalan Sphere. When two individuals touch it simultaneously, it creates a melding of thoughts and emotions. It will show the truth of who you are. Alex blinked. So, it's a telepathic bonding ritual? Zanari inclined her head slightly. In a way, yes. But it is not passive. The sphere will amplify your deepest fears, your greatest regrets, and your hidden desires. You will need to confront them, and in doing so, allow me to understand the essence of your being. Alex swallowed hard. Sharing his thoughts and emotions with a towering alien councilwoman wasn't exactly in the training manual. But he'd come this far, and he wasn't about to back down now. All right, he said, stepping toward the pedestal. Let's do this. Zanari joined him, her presence a mixture of calm assurance and quiet intensity. She placed one hand on the sphere, her long, elegant fingers glowing faintly as they made contact. Alex followed suit, his hand trembling slightly as it met the cool, smooth surface. The moment his fingers touched the sphere, a wave of energy surged through Alex's body. His vision blurred, and the world around him dissolved into a kaleidoscope of colors. He felt an overwhelming sense of disorientation, as if he were floating in a vast, boundless void. And then, he wasn't alone. Zanari's presence filled his mind not as a voice, but as a feeling. Her thoughts were sharp and disciplined, tinged with curiosity and a guarded vulnerability. At the same time, Alex became acutely aware of his own emotions, magnified and laid bare. Memories surfaced without warning, vivid and raw. He was back on Earth, standing in the ruins of a shattered city. Smoke and ash filled the air, and the distant sound of gunfire echoed through the streets. This was his first deployment as a soldier, a memory he had buried deep. He saw the faces of his fallen comrades, heard their screams, felt the crushing weight of responsibility. I didn't want to be a hero, Alex thought, the words echoing in the void. I just wanted to survive. Zanari's presence was there, observing, but not judging. Her thoughts pressed gently against his own, seeking to understand. You carry guilt, she said, her voice resonating through his mind. But it is not weakness. It is proof of your humanity. The scene shifted. Now Alex was standing in the Diplomatic Corps Training Center, facing a room of alien recruits. He remembered the fear of being the smallest, the least imposing figure in the room, and the determination that had driven him to succeed despite the odds. You thrive in adversity, Zanari noted. It is a trait we respect. As her thoughts entwined with his, Alex caught glimpses of Zanari's own memories. He saw her as a young warrior, standing in the shadow of a towering Noran elder who berated her for showing mercy to an enemy. He felt her frustration, her defiance, and the burning desire to prove that compassion was not a weakness. You're not as unshakable as you seem, Alex thought, the realization dawning on him. You've had to fight for your place, just like me. Zanari's mental presence flared with surprise, followed by a sense of quiet acknowledgement. Perhaps we are not so different, Lieutenant. The connection deepened, and the sphere began to test them both. Shadows formed in the void, amorphous and menacing, representing their shared fears and doubts. The first shadow lunged at Alex, a manifestation of his fear of failure. He stood his ground, forcing himself to confront it, and it dissipated into nothingness. Zanari faced her own shadow, a towering figure that represented the expectations of her people. For a moment, she hesitated, but Alex's presence bolstered her resolve. Together, they pushed through the darkness, their combined strength banishing the shadows. When the energy of the sphere finally receded, Alex and Zanari found themselves back in the chamber, the glow of the artifact dimming. The room was silent, the council members watching intently. Zanari removed her hand from the sphere, her expression unreadable. She turned to face the council, her voice steady and commanding. Lieutenant Hayes has passed the test of unity. His courage and resolve are undeniable, and he has proven himself worthy of our trust. A ripple of approval passed through the room, and Alex felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He had done it, he had earned their respect. Later, as Alex and Zanari walked through the halls of the Vareshi, she glanced down at him, her emerald eyes softening. "You surprised me today, Lieutenant," she said. "Few would have faced the sphere with such determination." Alex shrugged, a small smile playing on his lips. "Guess I wanted to prove that size doesn't matter." Zanari chuckled, the sound rich and genuine. "Indeed, it seems function matters more after all." As they continued walking, Alex realized that this mission had become more than just a diplomatic assignment. It was the start of something far greater, a partnership that could bridge the divide between their species. And for the first time, he felt like he truly belonged.